This movie's an hour and 40 minutes. Ooh.
Yeah, we're good. What's going on, Movie Maniacs? I'm Zach.
And I'm Matt.
And this is the previews, everybody's favorite part of the movie. So, on this episode of the previews, we decided to check out The Dirt, which is a autobiography about the notorious rock band Motley Crue.
Yes, starring Douglas Booth, A1 Rayon,
and Daniel Weber as Vince Neil, and Machine Gun Kelly.
Which is crazy. Directed by Jeff Tremaine. If you guys didn't know who he is, he's behind the Jackass film. He's directed all three of them. Also directed Bad Grandpa as well. So, Zach, let me go ahead and ask you this. Was it Bohemian Rhapsody more hardcore, or was it just your run-of-the-mill, I guess, biopic?
I'd say it was okay. It was definitely a run-of-the-mill. For an autobiography standpoint, they delved into a lot darker themes than I've seen in a lot of other rock band documentaries.
Yeah, and I guess we'll go ahead and we'll start off the review with this as well. First thing, this is going to be a spoiler review, so if you haven't either read the book or seen the movie, definitely don't watch this unless you're curious. Go ahead. But I also wanted to go ahead and say, me and Zach are big Motley Crue fans, believe it or not.
Oh yeah,
exactly. We saw them a handful of times live. We both have read The Dirt and love The Dirt.
Yeah, I will say it is my favorite book of all time.
Yeah, it's definitely my top 5. And I read The Heroin Diaries, which dives more into Nikki Sixx's heroin addiction, which, again, I really like that book as well. So we're really going into this film like, big fans. So first things first, we want to talk about the story. We are huge fans of the book. It's probably one of our top 5 books.
It's my favorite book, period, yeah.
Okay, so we're big fans of the book. And what we love about the material so much is it really shows the dark side of rock and roll, a lot. So it's not like, oh, let's go ahead party hardcore. It really shows like how it takes a toll on your body and also ruins like your outside of, I guess, band life.
Yeah, so, just mentally.
Exactly. It's really good. And I felt like this film, it really captured that. I wish they dove into it a little bit more.
A little bit more. I really did like how much they delved into Nikki Sixx's addiction. I thought that was done very well.
Yes.
I haven't really seen a rock and roll autobiography really show the true struggle of a heroin addiction as much as that, at least in a while. There were other really big moments, which I will bring up, the car accident with Vince. I'd say the quintessential life-changing moment in their life.
Yeah, that's what got them to start slowly, I guess, pumping the brakes on sobering up.
The guy who got killed, Razzle is his name, is barely in the movie. Read about this connection that this band had with him, and he seemed like a real person, and like that was a key scene I really wish they delved a little bit more into, because it was over and done like that.
Yeah, it was almost swept under the rug, kind of. It was like, oh, this is an issue. Okay, let's move on. Yeah. And for it being a short of a movie, like you could have definitely dove deep into it, which I mentioned before.
Yeah.
And I agree with you too. Like in the book, and I'm sure in real life, because not only did every bandmate had, I guess, their point of view in the book, which is really cool. It's actually broken up per bandmate, and their side of the story on everything. That's what makes I feel like the book so unique.
Yeah, and it gives each band member their own voice.
Yeah, which is great. Neil Strauss, he's the author of the book. Give him props.
Definitely,
he's a great author. So on top of that too, with that whole accident, they didn't really dive too deep into like, hey, like Vince Neil decided to go ahead and sober up because he had to. The other 3 in the books and in real life, they just kept partying.
The movie was very short. I mean, it's only an hour and 40 minutes, and I guess that's a negative I had with it. If they would have pushed it to like the 2 hours and 20 minutes or even 2 hours and 30 minutes, I feel like a lot could have been added, and it could have definitely been a lot better.
How about the acting? What did you think of the acting?
I'll start off with the biggest highlight, in my opinion, is surprisingly Machine Gun Kelly.
Me too!
Yes, which I won't even call him Machine Gun Kelly. I'll use his real name, Colson Baker, because after this movie, I look at him as actually a legitimate good actor.
Now let me ask you this. Him and Eminem have beef. Who do you think's the better actor, Machine Gun Kelly or Eminem? Or Colson Baker or Marshall Mathers?
No, I personally liked Colson Baker more than Eminem and 8 Mile.
I agree too.
His facial expressions and all that I was seeing Tommy Lee. Exactly. As a huge fan, just all the interviews and everything. Just him always with his drumsticks banging on the walls and and all that, and it was very spot on.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's probably an A+ actor. Like, I'm sure his range isn't very, very great. However, I think he fit this role perfectly, and I was...
Yeah, no Oscar or anything like that.
Yeah, definitely not
great.
an Oscar. But the other bandmates, Douglas Booth, who did Nikki Sixx, I thought he did all right.
I think he did good.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Daniel Weber as Vince, he was my biggest issue.
Okay.
Because Vince is a very charismatic band member, and I really feel like he was not charismatic at all in this movie.
See, I disagree with you. I think the biggest issue I had with him was he didn't look like Vince Neil whatsoever. However, I felt his mannerisms, the way he was acted like him, because we don't know him personally. I mean, all we know is he's supposed to be a jerk, and I felt like he played a jerk in this, movie.
I really didn't feel like it too much. I feel like he was kind of, I don't want to say wasted, but he was at the bottom than the rest of the members, and he had the most happen to him, throughout his life, and that was a negative for me, because there's these huge moments that happen with him, but if I don't like him too much as an audience member, I can't really get behind it.
Well, here, okay, so I'm going to disagree with you on this too, because I feel like in the book, one of the most heart-wrenching scenes is obviously when Vince Neil's daughter gets diagnosed with cancer and she ends up dying, right? I felt that in the book, when I read it, I actually I cried. It's really sad because you're reading Vince Neil's words and what he was doing to try to make his daughter happy. And I felt like they showed this in the movie pretty good, and I actually teared up a little bit. I teared up a little bit.
Nah, I didn't feel it. No, it felt a little bit even sort of kind of cheesy when it was just Vince trying to make her feel better. The girl did a very good job.
Yeah, the girl, whoa!
Yeah,
she did a great
job. His daughter did a great job. And when she was talking to him when she was on the hospital bed, that was making me tear up.
I feel like that's why it makes you tear up, because it's this little kid not knowing anything, and then he's like, yeah, my daughter's dying, And obviously in the book it had more impact, because it's a little bit, I don't want to say dramatized, because it's really not in this. But I don't know, I guess we'll agree to disagree, because I actually really like that scene, and I feel like my least favorite was Ewan. As Mick Mars.
I mean, he was Mick Mars. Mick Mars doesn't really have too much to say to a degree.
No, I understand that, but
he was the one on the sidelines when all this chaos was going on. Yes, he was drinking a lot and shit like that, but that's it.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. I just felt like he was just, I don't know, you're gonna make fun of me, but I felt like he was putting too much emotion into his he was acting as Mick Mars, not being a Mick Mars, right? If that makes sense. Mick Mars, when he's sitting there saying smart ass stuff, it's supposed to me, watching Mick Mars' interviews, it's very Stone Cold, right? He didn't do that much. He was acting Stone Cold.
No, I'm not. Well, yeah, he was acting Stone Cold.
Yeah, but it shows off, it shows off he's really trying hard. I didn't like that. Yeah. I didn't like that.
That's what we agree to disagree on that one, too.
Jeff Tremaine obviously came from Jackass. This is really his first... I don't really count Bad Grandpa as, an actual film, if you will, because it's a bunch of pranks, with a story together, which is kind of smart. But this is actually his first, feature-length, film. What do you think of his directing style?
For him coming from a background of just filming, you could say, chaos.
Yeah.
No, the scenes with the chaos in this movie were shot very well, and I really liked the directing on that.
See, I felt he was very hit or miss. So the one thing that I really, I guess, did not like, and this might be a little bit of a writing, but I feel it's a creative thing between the writers and the directors. I hated the point of view talking stuff, because it didn't do it a lot throughout the movie. It didn't.
Exactly. It fell out of place. I thought it was going to eventually transition into, again, what we say in the book is follows each member talking about a certain story. Yeah. So I thought they were going to kind of gravitate towards that when they started using those, but they used them and it was just done.
It's just hey, if it's convenient, let's use it. If not, let's not. So I felt that I didn't like that part of it. And I think that's a creative decision, because it really didn't need that. However, I feel like the biggest thing it could have used, we said this multiple times, just a longer runtime. That's all they needed, and they didn't have to do all that BS. I didn't really like that. But I guess, overall, what would you score it?
I'm going to give it 3 ant bumps out of 5.
You know what? I feel like we're agreeing too much, and I don't like this. I'm going to give it 3 as well, but I'm going to give it 3 Jack Daniels bottles out of 5. So, hey, that's a review of The Dirt. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below and let us know what you thought about The Dirt. And we'll see you next week on The Previews.